Sanctions are an important tool in international relations and global security. Sanctions are measures taken by countries or international organizations to influence or coerce specific behaviors by other countries, entities, or individuals. So, what are sanctions? Sanctions are restrictions or penalties imposed by one or more countries against a targeted country, group, or individual. They are used as a foreign policy tool to achieve various objectives such as promoting human rights, preventing nuclear proliferation, or deterring aggression. Sanctions can take many forms, including economic sanctions, which are restrictions on trade, investment, and financial transactions. Travel sanctions, which are bans on travel or restrictions on visas for specific individuals. Arms embargoes, which are prohibitions on the sale or transfer of weapons and military technology. Asset freezes, which are about blocking access to financial assets held in foreign accounts. Commodity sanctions, which are restrictions on the export or import of specific goods such as oil or technology. With all this in mind, do we really need sanctions? Well, they're important for a number of reasons. Firstly, they promote international security. Sanctions help prevent the spread of weapons of mass destruction, or WMDs, and deter aggressive actions by rogue states or entities. They help in protecting human rights. They are used to pressure governments or groups to respect human rights and democratic principles. They enforce international norms. Sanctions uphold international laws and norms, such as those prohibiting terrorism and human trafficking. They provide diplomatic leverage. Sanctions provide a non-military means of exerting pressure on states or entities to change their behaviors. What are the impacts of sanctions? Sanctions can have wide-ranging effects on the targeted entities and the imposing countries. Firstly, there's economic impact. Sanctions can cripple the economy of the targeted country by restricting trade and investment, leading to inflation, unemployment, and a decrease in GDP. They have a political impact. They can isolate the targeted government internationally, reducing its diplomatic influence and legitimacy. They have a humanitarian impact. While sanctions aim to preserve governments, they can also inadvertently affect civilians by limiting access to essential goods and services. They can encourage behavioral change. Effective sanctions can compel the targeted entity to alter its policies or actions to have the sanctions lifted. Sanctions are implemented by individual countries and international organizations. Examples of sanctions include United Nations sanctions. The UN Security Council imposes sanctions to maintain or restore international peace and security. Examples include sanctions on North Korea for its nuclear program and on Iran to prevent nuclear proliferation. There are United States sanctions. The US imposes sanctions through the Office of Foreign Assets Control, or OFAC. Examples include sanctions against Russia for its actions in Ukraine, against Venezuela for human rights abuses, and against entities supporting terrorism. There are EU sanctions. The EU implements sanctions as part of its common foreign and security policy. Examples include sanctions on Syria for its civil war and Myanmar for human rights violations. There are UK sanctions. The UK, post-Brexit, has its own sanctions regime. Examples include sanctions on Belarus for its crackdown on dissent and on Chinese officials for human rights abuses in Xinjiang. To wrap this up, sanctions are a powerful tool in the international community's toolkit for promoting security, human rights, and adherence to international norms. While they can have significant economic, political, and humanitarian impacts, their primary goal is to coerce positive change and maintain global order. Understanding sanctions, their objectives, and their effects is important for comprehending international relations and global governance. Stay informed, stay engaged, and appreciate the complexities of using sanctions as a tool for a safer and more just world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. And don't forget to check out the range of courses I offer that are trusted by organizations around the world, including the US government, EY, Cognizant, Accenture, Tata, and many more. You'll find all the details in the description below. Plus, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, where I share plenty of valuable content. Make sure to check out my other videos on financial crime, including transaction monitoring and financial crime, and what is KYC.